Does your car have a spare tire?
Does your home have a smoke detector or box of bandages in the medicine cabinet?
If so, then you have experience in preparing for an emergency.
These may seem like small things, but small things can save lives, even during a big emergency.
There's no way of knowing what type of crisis might happen or when it will strike, but there are 3 easy steps you can take to make sure you are ready for anything, from a terrorist attack to a tornado.
1. Create a plan for you and your family. 2. Prepare an emergency kit. And 3. Listen for information about what to do and where to go during an actual emergency.
We call it Ready in 3.
Emergency preparedness starts at home.
Our homes might be different, but the first step in getting them ready for a crisis is the same no matter where you live. You must have a plan. What will you do? Where will you go? And who will you call?
These are questions that you and your family should answer now to cut down on confusion during a crisis. Let's watch as one Missouri family develops their plan.
We've got the contact information all taken care of. Now we need to work through a few of the details, some of the things that we'll do in case there's an emergency. So where do you think we all should meet if there was one?
Well, we meet at the fire hydrant.
Meet at the fire hydrant?
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to have an alternate location.
Oh, alternate to the fire hydrant? How about if we met at the Starbucks at the corner?
All right, good. Okay, that sounds good.
Okay, good.
Let's say Dad's at the office, you 3 are at school, and I'm at work. What do you think, what would the first thing we would try to do?
Probably call each other.
But if we can't get through, we ought to have a central point of contact. Who should that be?
I think it should be Uncle Jim.
Well, except for he's here local. And lots of times in an emergency, local lines might be tied up. Maybe we should try to pick somebody out of town.
I think Mimi and Papa would be good.
My folks? Yeah, we could call Mimi and Papa. That's probably a pretty good idea. They're usually home.
Okay, so we call Mimi and Papa.
That's good, but I don't have their number.
Oh, but that's why you'll have your plan with you. And you need to make sure you keep it in your backpack all the time, all right? If we're all here in the house and there's an emergency, what room do you think we should get together in?
How about the entry hall?
Well, I think one of the things is we want to try to be someplace where there aren't a lot of windows or a lot of exposure to outside.
Well, how about the kitchen? That wouldn't be a bad room. It only has one window. We'd have a refrigerator. The kennel's there for Birdie, the dog, so we can bring him up into that.
Let's figure out where we'd go in case we can't get back in our house in case of emergency. What's everybody think?
Within St. Louis?
Yeah, within St. Louis.
Well, what about your office?
Well, that's a good idea. It's in walking distance. We've filled all this out. We'll make copies, and everybody needs to make sure they keep a copy with them, right? So,
Like in our wallets.
in your wallet or in your backpack, and not leave it in your locker at school. Just make sure you always have it with you, so you've got all the contact information.
Great.
Okay, that sounds good.
Does your family have a plan?
Yes, we do. My kids go to an elementary school that is so close to our house. I can get there in less than 2 minutes. Also, if I'm not around, they know they can walk to the neighbor's house and wait for me there.
My mother has trouble getting around, so my brother and I have it worked out that if an emergency takes place during the day, it's his responsibility. If an emergency takes place during the evenings or the weekends, I take care of her.
That's great.
The important thing is to remember to take all family members into account. Know the emergency plans for your kids' schools. Make sure to include parents who may be in a retirement home, relatives or friends with special needs, and of course, the family pet.
Obviously, different lives need different plans, but you can follow the Mittens lead and start the same way by reading the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services Family Safety Guide and filling out the family plan with your own family. To request a copy, call 573-526-4768.
The second step to being prepared is to have an emergency kit. After all, what if you don't have enough food in the house and you can't make it to the store for days or weeks? Or what if your electricity isn't working? Getting an emergency kit together is really easy, and it will make your life a lot less complicated down the road should something ever happen. Let's visit Gina at home as she gets started on her own kit.
I've been looking through the emergency kit checklist in the Family Safety Guide, and I'm ready to start raiding my pantries and closets for supplies. Let's go. Wow, just look at all this stuff. I found some toilet paper, granola bars, flashlights, soap, heavy-duty tape, some trash bags, and even a waterproof bag to store my important family documents. Well, it seems like I did pretty well, but let's check with the expert. Brian Quinn with Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services is here with some tips.
Well, it looks like you did a good job of gathering items from around the house. Many times people are a little nervous about getting stuff around their house and starting an emergency response kit, but you've done a good job of bringing things together, and I think you've got a good start on that.
How about the food items? Did I choose the right things?
You do have some good items here. It's good to have protein sources like peanut butter. It's good to have things that are quick and easy to fix. And so things like soup are good. Canned items, things that are going to last over time and keep well and not spoil. You did a good job putting in the manual can opener. That's great. Something some people forget to throw in, and then they have to open a can and can't get to it.
I tried to pick nutritious foods. I would have loved to have just had candy bars and potato chips. My kids would have loved that, but that's probably not a good idea, is it?
Well, actually, it's not a bad idea. Of course, you can't live for 3 days on candy and snack food, but it is good to have that in your kit. We recommend that you have comfort foods in there to keep things familiar in unfamiliar territory, and it helps lift the mood. And so some candy bars and things like that are always good to have in a kit.
That's a great idea.
You also need to remember to throw in some games or other ways to pass the time, puzzles for the kids or electronic games or anything that's going to help keep your family's mind off the emergency and get through those days away from home.
I have 3 gallons of water here. Is that enough for all of us?
Now that's enough for you. You need to figure on 1 gallon per person per day.
Okay.
And so you have enough for you for the 3-day stay, but you have a family of 4. Is that right? Okay. So it looks like you're going to need to pick up some more water and have that on hand. You need to rotate your supply out about every 6 months to make sure you have a good fresh supply in a moment's notice when you need to leave the home.
So what about my non-food items? How did I do there?
Well, it looks like you have, again, a good variety. It looks like you have a blanket with some hats and gloves. Those are important things for cold weather. Emergencies can happen anytime, so it's good to be prepared for that. Things like toilet paper and paper towels for the obvious reasons. You have emergency communications with your radio. You have batteries, which is always good to have with your emergency kit. You have your flashlights. One thing I don't see here is a first aid kit, and that's really a key element to any emergency kit to take care of those cuts and scrapes and bruises that always seem to happen during an emergency. So you'll need to get one of those and put those in to have that ready.
Where do I put this in?
Well, I just happen to have a special gift for you today. This is a special Ready in 3 duffel bag, but really anything will work. You need something that will hold everything that you'll take along in an emergency, but not be so big that you can't move it or so small that everything won't fit in it.
One more trip to the store and I should have everything I need. Thanks so much, Brian, for being with us today. This was wonderful information.
An emergency can happen anytime, anywhere. So to really be prepared, you should have an emergency kit in your car as well. Not quite as big as the one for your home, but with a few of the same items. Things like a gallon of water, food, battery-powered radio, sleeping bag or blankets, flashlight, extra batteries, and first aid supplies. There are also a few car-specific items you'll want to have on hand in case of an auto emergency. Things like road maps, tire repair kit, jumper cables, and flares. It's also a good idea to take a portable emergency kit to work with food, flashlight, battery-powered radio, a copy of your family's emergency plan, change of clothes, and a comfortable pair of shoes in case of an evacuation. Nothing will slow you down like having to walk several flights of stairs in stiletto heels. At least that's what they tell me. The final step to being ready in 3 is to listen for information. But where does that information come from, and how can we trust that it's reliable?
No matter what situation occurs or where it takes place in the state of Missouri, you can rest assured that the state is ready and waiting at all times. The DHSS Department Situation Room is the central location for monitoring and reporting potential problems, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All local public health agencies, doctors, hospitals, and law enforcement know to call the emergency hotline anytime they suspect there is a public health emergency or bioterrorism event. This computer system tracks the emergency rooms in hospitals across the state, and folks here are constantly monitoring many different things, ready to determine when they have an emergency on their hands. Should a crisis arise, Missouri's Department of Health and Senior Services works with the FBI, Homeland Security, the State Emergency Management Agency, local police, and others, including the governor, to determine the best response. The state of Missouri has plans in place for all types of crises, and state officials have conducted many practice drills for everything from chemical spills to lots of people getting sick and needing medicine at one time. But no matter what the type of emergency, a few things stay the same. The experts here always work with state and local law enforcement and also notify TV, radio stations, and newspapers.
PSR to OPI, over.
That's why it's important for everyone to listen for instructions.
So that's it. You know everything you need to know to be ready for anything.
Now we hope you will take matters into your own hands by creating a plan, preparing a kit, and listening for information.
And once you do, be sure to check your plan and your kit every now and then to make sure everything is still good.
Most of all, we hope you stay alert and remember that emergencies can happen anytime to anyone.
Local, state, and federal agencies have plans to protect us all, but you are responsible for your own safety.
And now you are just 3 easy steps away from being ready in 3.